So, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Stuart Robertson. How are you, Stuart? Are you well?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. Well, the reason we have you on, actually, well, we talked about it in last week's podcast, actually. The release of your brand new album, North to South. This is all sorts of exciting, mate.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. I've been working on it on and off for probably about 4 or 5 years, just doing bits and pieces here and there. But then, obviously, with the whole COVID situation, managed to find a bit more extra time to dedicate to it. So I thought, now's the time, go for it.
That's it. Why not, indeed? So, we'll talk more about the album in a wee minute or two. But first of all, I want to introduce people to who you are. For those of you who don't know
Sure.
who you are, do you want to give us a little bit of your pipe and pedigree?
Uh,
How did you get started and
well,
all that?
I wouldn't, I wouldn't really describe it as a pedigree. Um, yeah, so I started off like ridiculously young. Well, I was 11 years old when I started with my local band, and then gradually just went through the grades. I went from novice juvenile to grade three, and then from grade three I went to grade one,
Hmm.
and that was back in 1993, possibly.
Ah, there we go.
1993 was my
Yeah.
first grade one band.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I just kind of gradually just moved about a few bands. Um, Not so much of a glory hunter. I just like I'd listened to a band and liked what they I heard
Yeah.
musically and thought I'd like to play with that band. And then eventually, so grade one bands I went through to Ficken the first time they were in grade one.
Hmm.
Then I went to Glasgow Sky. Sorry, no. After that, I went to Polkennet. I played with
Oh,
Polkennet,
great band.
and
Yeah.
then I went to Glasgow Sky under Ian Roddick,
Hmm.
and then from Glasgow Sky, I went to the David Urquhart Travel pipe band under Don
Hmm.
Bradford,
Yeah. Another cracking
uh,
band.
and
Yeah.
then and then from there, I went back to Turficken, who were in grade two at the time,
Hmm.
as pipe sergeant, and we had a real successful. It would have been the second season. We won the British. Um, we were second at the Worlds, uh, and I spent a couple of years there, and then I decided I'm going to go for the big guns, and I spoke to Rob Matheson, who I'd spoken to previously. He'd asked me up to the band a couple of times, and I thought, I'm going to go for it. So I went up to Shots and yeah, had a cracking time at Shots. Winning quite a few things and being exposed to obviously the kind of musical side of the band and learned a huge bundle about bandcraft and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got a job offer from the Western Australia Police Pipe Band in 2010 and decided it was time for a change. Probably retirement from competing pipe bands, if you want to put it that way, because I've done it for so long. And yeah, I've been here ever since.
There you are. So moving from sunny Scotland or wet, miserable Scotland to sunny Perth, then in Australia. So yeah, how did you find that transition really with bringing your music with you? From where you were to where you are now, did you find that the music that you had with you did it travel well? You know, the people around you appreciate the music and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons that I had uh, managed to get here, or there's been talk of me coming here or being asked to come here, was because previously um, I'd I'd had tunes played by Shots. I'd had tunes played by pretty much every band that I played in. Um, and in 2000, I actually released a book of my own tunes
Hmm.
called Skybound, and that went quite well. And there was a few bands, not just pipe bands, but folk bands and stuff that picked up a few tunes. So I've always kind of dabbled in the composing. Um, and when I arrived here, uh, the pipe major at the time, Paul Hughes, he was a good pipe major and was always open to new musical suggestions. Um, and I found that to be, exciting, because then I would have a almost like a vehicle for some bizarre ideas. And don't get me wrong, some of the ideas were completely bizarre. And then we managed to pull one or two of them off. And then Jim Murray, he became the pipe major, and I played in shots with Jim, so we kind of knew each other then, and he knew what I was kind of all about musically, and we could kind of polar opposites, if you like. Jim was very traditional, but liked pushing the boat out, as
Yeah.
far as music was concerned. So again, I was given the opportunity to work with the guys, because there's some fabulous musicians in the band, and all very musically talented, and had the chance to no boundaries. If it worked, it worked. We used it, and then I think 2016 we did a Jubilee concert, and myself and a couple of the other boys were pretty much responsible for 80% of the musical content.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
not on, no, not all on compositions and stuff. We just looked at musical ideas and thought we could
Hmm.
do something with that, and it was a bit different from your normal pipe band concert, where we rely heavily on backing musicians that actually are in the band, the multi-instrumentalists. So
There you go.
yeah, it's been really good that way. And then obviously my own project at home and stuff. So
They are indeed.
yeah,
And
here we are.
that came to fruition then thanks to the pandemic, really. I have to say, that Jubilee concert by Wabble, well, honestly, it's one of my favorite concert DVDs. It's never out of our
Really.
player here at home. It's fantastic. So, for those at home who haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go and pick up a copy of that. It's brilliant. So, Stuart, I have to ask you then, you did mention your book previously, and this new album, North to South, does it include any of the tunes from your book previously in this new album?
It actually doesn't know. The
Hmm.
stuff that I wrote for the book back then, when I look back at a lot of the tunes now, I kind of cringe a little bit. I think
Oh,
as a
really?
composer, yeah, I think as a composer, um, you kind of grow,
Hmm.
uh, and you evolve as a composer, and I think that's true in any genre of music. What I wrote 10, 20 years ago is not something. And I think I'd write now, and I think you're influenced by everything around about you. I mean, you hear the music that's being composed these days by the young composers that have put out stuff. It's absolutely fantastic,
Yeah,
and you can't help but be pulled along in that direction sometimes.
for sure. So I have to say, I have a copy of this album now, North to South, and I've been listening to it all week. And I think the word I want to use to sum this up, Stuart, is eclectic. It's such a mix of music. Like, you have heavy guitars in there, you have Indian tablas, all sorts of exotic instruments and stuff in here. It's such a huge range. Can you tell us about the production of this and your thinking behind it?
Um, I have a bizarre taste in music, and it basically incorporates everything. Um, I love classical music. I love real heavy, grungy, dirty guitar music,
Yeah.
and almost everything in between. The only thing I'm not really a fan of, strangely enough, is the kind of um, club type music,
Yeah,
dance
dance and
music or
rave
that
and
kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that for whatever reason, but I'm certainly drawn to guitar-based music. There's something about it, and minor keys. Anything in minor key, I'll listen to.
There you go. Adds a bit of drama
So
to it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So when I started out, I mean, each of the tracks started out with just a melody in my head, um, and it was just a case of building around that melody. And I'm fortunate enough here to have lots of friends who are all multi instrumentalists, and particularly at work, where a lot of the guys um, gave up their own time to record for me, to give me ideas, because sometimes you get a bit of tunnel vision with a particular thing. There was one particular track that I had in my head that would go one direction, and the keyboard player, who's actually the band supervisor, he fabulous musician, and he said, "What about this?" And I went, "Oh yeah, I never thought of that." So there was lots of that went on, and we're quite fortunate that I recorded a lot of stuff at home. I have a lot of toys at home that I can use to record with, and also in the band office, we have our kind of own studio, so I do have access to that out with work time. So I was again fortunate to be able not to have to pay for a studio or anything like that, and I could take as long as I wanted. Time wasn't money or anything, so I could, if I recorded something on the pipes and I wasn't happy with it, which happened quite a lot, I'll be honest. I had all the time in the world to do it again and again and again. So yeah, I was quite fortunate in that way.
I have to say, though, as a listener and a piping fan, listening to this, you can tell that the album is really quite polished. You can tell the time's been spent on this. I have to give a mention, actually. This was mixed and mastered by someone really quite well known in the Celtic and folk scene, Scott Wood, at his studio.
Yeah.
How much kind of did Scott kind of contribute to the whole project?
Scott was fantastic. I got to the point where I had all the kind of tracks, and there was other tracks that I thought about, but the main ones that I was quite happy with, I decided, I just messaged him out of the blue, really, because I'm a bit of a fan of his work. I listened to lots of albums that Scott's been involved in, and that he mixed and mastered and recorded. So he clearly knows what he's doing, and with my attempts at trying to record some stuff, because I'm not a recording engineer, and did the best I could with my limited knowledge in recording. I basically sent him a sample of the opening track and said, what do you think? And he was really responsive and really up for, helping me out. And he was absolutely fabulous with the whole process. And I know he's a busy man, projects on the go at the time. And I said to him, look, I'm not in a rush for this. Just if and when you can do some work on it. And he came back with ideas. He would send me the mixes, ask for opinions. There's some things that I would hear that I would question, but he would give me his honest answer, and I go, okay, well, yep, that's fair enough. And there was other things that I would suggest, and he went, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And in one of the tracks, he basically come back and said, it doesn't work for me. I went, right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. And he gave me a list of suggestions and what he thought would be a good direction to take with it. And I said, yeah, go for it. Yeah, just absolutely. And then when he sent the thing back, it basically transformed the track from being, I guess, an okay track to a cracking track for me. Anyway, I listened to it and I went, that's why I chose Scott. He knows his stuff. So
he certainly does. Yeah.
And the process was so easy to work with. Using Dropbox, he would send a mix, I would send him a message and say, can you change this, can you change that? Or he would come back and say, what do you think of this, what do you think of that? A couple of edits here and there, and then got to the final part and he says, what do you think? I went, yeah, love it. So master done, sent me the masters within a day, I think it was, from the final mix, and the next day I got the masters, and that's it.
I have to say, the power of technology really has helped us a lot during this pandemic. And obviously, with the making of your album, time has really been on your side, I suppose. And that first track, you did mention it. I think, we'll maybe play a little clip of it here at this point. It's called Time Limit. Do you want to tell our listeners about this track, first of all?
There's three tunes in the track. The first tune is Time Limit. And that tune basically came from me coming up with this hook, this kind of melody thing. And normally when I write a tune, I'll go back to it 5, 6, 7 times and keep going back to it and keep going back to it. And what I found sometimes is that you get too close to the thing. You get too close to it, and then you start making edits for no reason. So I said to myself, I'm going to put a time limit on how long it takes me to get from start to finish. And that's kind of where the title came from. It literally, what you hear on the album is literally what came out of my head. I think it took about 20 minutes. It just came out in one.
Wow.
And I never went back and changed it. I just left it. The second tune, now there's a bit of dubiety about the second tune. The second tune's called "Get a Buck."
Yep.
Now lots of I work for the mounted section at WA Police on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I work with horses. And lots of people have asked me, is a horse called Gedda? But lots of my Northern Irish friends think something else.
Yep.
So I'll let you and the listeners decide for themselves about that title. And the final one is called The Deep. The Deep started as a reel, but it started in a minor key. And I just instantly liked it, but it didn't fit in a minor key in that track, so I just changed it into a major key. And yeah, that was pretty. The Deep, I'm not even sure where the name came from, to be honest.
There you go.
It's one of those moments, I think, where you're deep in thought.
Yeah,
just deep in thought, I guess. But what I did was in the second track, it actually repeats, but I changed the time signature and put the minor key back in. So the Deep appears in the second track as well, so as a jig.
It does indeed. So let's have a listen to this first track, actually. Time Limit. We'll drop in a wee clip now.
Sure.
So, Stuart, can you tell us then, overall, the whole album itself really does have your own unique sound for your own compositions. It also has that little Scott Wood flavor over the top of it as well. You can definitely tell. But is there any track on the album that you could say has been your standout favorite, really, at the moment?
I would say there was a couple, but the one that has stuck with me, apart from the opening track, which Scott was largely responsible for the path that track took. Apart from that one, the Eastern Connection is about as it was actually more epic than it sounds on the album to begin with, but it was so epic that really just you'd as well just taking the small pipes out of it, to be honest. And that would be a kind of pointless project, pointless idea. So the Eastern Connection started as a piece for the 2016 Jubilee concert for Waypole, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we started adding all sorts in, and it was getting bigger than Ben Hur. And it's a simple little melody, and then we stuck in a tune by Long McDougall called the Helm, which I heard on a YouTube video years ago and loved it, just loved the tune. And so I messaged Lon and said, any chance I could get the music for that? I'd love the band to play it, So he sent the music and we learned it. We actually played it in the concert, but it never appeared on the DVD or the CD. But I kept it because it was my idea. So and it had one of my tunes in it. So I kept it and then tweaked it and changed it to take it away from being suitable for a band, because you can be more open and adventurous if you do it on your own.
Indeed, yeah.
And it's got a kind of Eastern feel to it, and it's also got some dirty, heavy guitar.
It
does.
The
guitar solo that you hear, that's the bass guitar played by the bass player at Waypole, who is an absolute monster on the bass. Plays pipes as well, plays pipes in the band, but an absolute monster on the bass. And I just said to him, "Can you shred?" And he just shrugged his shoulders and went, "Yeah." and that came out. I think he took 2 takes, and that came out.
That's impressive. There you go.
Really impressive. So there's that one, and I think my other favourite is probably the Moon over Rajasthan. That literally took 22 minutes.
What, really?
The whole track. 22 minutes, the whole thing. Just
that's no time.
Like that. I've been watching, I love David Attenborough, and I've been watching one of these programs about monkeys in India. And there just happened to be one particular scene, because I really clever with the camera work and stuff. And it was like a massive moon, and then there was some buildings, and then the shadows, the silhouettes of the monkeys on the thing. And it was in Rajasthan. And it just, I woke up the next day and this thing was in my head. And I'm not a whistle player by any manner of means. I mean, I play a couple of things on the whistle. And I sat, and because it's quite a simple melody to play, I sat in this room I'm in now and just recorded it. And went into the office and said, "Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this?" And then I got it back the following day. There you go. And I tweaked it a little bit and then sent it to Scott.
There you go.
Literally.
Wow, fantastic stuff. I have to say, folks, if you are interested in getting your hands on this, and let's face it, you're going to want to get your hands on this because we're going to close out with that track, actually, the Eastern Connection. So, Stuart, can you tell folks then where they can go and grab a copy of this?
You can go onto Bandcamp. So it's stuartrobertsonpiper.bandcamp.com, where you can get it from there, or you can get it from pretty much any of the download streaming platforms, all those places: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, loads of others as well.
All those places, indeed. So, Stuart, I have to say thank you so much for the production of this amazing album. The music on it is incredible. I think it's really, really great and eclectic. There's a big mix in there. There's a lot for everyone.
Yeah, it's basically my musical tastes in one album. There's even a bit of dance music in there. I'm ashamed to say.
Indeed, yeah. So going forward then, Stuart, I have to ask you some Big Rab Show staples. Can't let you away without asking the Big Rab Show questions. Number one, what's your favourite cheese?
Favorite cheese?
Hmm.
Red Leicester.
Ooh, good one. Not bad. I haven't had that one yet. That's not a bad choice. Yeah. And also, this is a really difficult question to answer, actually, but have you got any one particular standout moment, as being your most memorable moment in piping?
Um, I've
That's a
got
difficult
lots.
question.
It is a difficult question. I've got lots from my life in Scotland, and I've got lots from here. Okay, I'll give you two because I can't pick one over the other.
Sure.
In Scotland, it would be playing with shots at the World Championships in 2007, and the medley finished with one of my own compositions.
Wow. Yeah.
And here, probably playing on stage with Paul McCartney.
Whoa, that's something odd. Not many pipers can say that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's not many can say that. Yeah, it was a fabulous moment. Shook his hand. I'm a massive Beatles fan. Shook his hand on the way on the rehearsal, going onto the stage. He shook everybody's hand, and yeah, I didn't wash my hands for a couple of days.
No. That's something special, honestly. Wow. So, Stuart, I wish yourself the best, and thank you again for this amazing album. Can you please send my best to everyone on Map as well? You guys have sounded fantastic this last while. It's been great following you. So keep up the great work. And for everyone wanting to get this album, go and search for it. Stuart Robertson. The album is called North to South. And yeah, you'll not regret tuning in to listen to this thing. It's incredible. Stuart, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week, mate. Take care.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Cheers.